Terry Kopfenstein, Professor Emeritus at the University of Nebraska in the Animal Science Department. And I'm discussing the economics of silage production and utilization by beef cattle. I got the easy topic, and that's a joke, of course, because it's the hard part is actually getting to the economics. And I start out by saying that it's always a concern to me when you ask an expert a question and their answer is, well, it all depends. And yet I thought when you talk about economics, it all depends. It depends on a lot of things. And so that's what the discussion is about today. And for example, it depends on corn price, because silage is based on what the value of the corn is out in the field. Well, since I started working on the economics a few weeks ago, the price of corn's jumped about 40 cents a bushel, so now all my economics are out of date. But that's really beside the point. The point is what kind of factors go into setting the price of silage. And so we price silage by taking the price of corn back to what its value is in the field. And at the present time, that's probably in the range of $3.30 or $3.40 a bushel out in the field, if you take out the harvest costs, those kinds of things. Then you have to harvest the silage, put it in storage, in some type of a storage structure, preferably a structure rather than just a pile, but a pile can work. And then you've got storage loss. Other speakers are much better at discussing those storage losses than I am. But obviously that affects the economics a great deal. Now the thing that I've added to the discussion today is the issue of the plant nutrients. In the past, we've priced silage based on plant nutrients that we remove in the forage part of the silage. Because when we pay for corn, we're paying for the nutrients that the farmer had to apply, the fertilizer that had to be applied to raise the corn. And so we're paying for those nutrients. The same is true, of course, with the distiller's grains that we would feed in the diet. We've already paid for those nutrients. But when we harvest silage, in the past, we've paid for the nitrogen and phosphorus especially that we remove in the forage part of the corn. But what we've not considered is the manure that's produced from the cattle when we feed that silage. So I've gone into an analysis of the value of that manure, the amount that's produced. Ironically, we did this research probably 12, 15 years ago, looking at the recovery of manure, where we actually measured how much manure was produced, what kind of recovery of nitrogen and phosphorus you get. About 50% of the nitrogen that the cattle excrete is recovered. The rest vaporizes and goes off into the air as ammonia from our feedlot. Anyway, we've got those data, so I could make that calculation. Then if we apply that manure back onto the field where the silage was harvested, we can get credit for those nutrients. And in fact, we can add back more nutrients than what came off the field in the forage part of the silage. And so that it's actually a positive point. And so I think maybe that's one of the most important things that I've worked on for this conference, and that is the discussion of all of those nice nutrients we get from the manure from the cattle when we feed the silage, and putting that back on the field. It's a recycling kind of an opportunity, and it really helps the economics. So silage loss, which other speakers have commented on, and then recycling those nutrients back into the field are the two really important parts of the economics of using silage. If we do that well, it can be quite economical to feeding just corn.